There are people who wake up each morning and feel a weight they can't name. Not exhaustion from work, not tiredness from lack of sleep. Something heavier. Something that makes the simple act of rising feel like a betrayal of what their body is trying to tell them. To others, they might look lazy, unmotivated, lost, but they are not failing at life. They are living it, just differently. The world moves too fast, demands too much, drains too deeply, and in the familiar silence of their own homes, in the quiet corners where they feel safe, they are not collapsing. They're protecting something precious. They are not running from the world. They are running toward peace. There is a real psychology behind this desire to lie down all day. Psychology shows that what most people call laziness is often the soul's way of demanding rest from a life that has become too loud, too fast, too draining. These are people with high internal complexity, minds that process deeply, hearts that feel intensely, and when the world asks too much, the body shuts down to protect what matters most: clarity, freedom, and profound meaning. But here's what most people miss. When someone feels the pull to lie down all day, their nervous system is not giving up, it's recalibrating. Let me explain what's actually happening beneath the surface. These are individuals with what psychologists call high internal self-presence. Their inner worlds are not quiet. They are rich, layered, constantly processing. Every conversation they have, every interaction, every demand from the outside world gets filtered through a mind that doesn't skim the surface. It goes deep, and depth takes energy. Their hearts don't beat faster in crowds. They beat steadier in silence. Their minds don't light up with stimulation. They light up with stillness. This is not a deficit. This is a different wiring, a different way of being alive. And when the world insists on speed, noise, and constant performance, these people feel it like a physical weight pressing down on their chest. The desire to lie down is not surrender. It's self-preservation. Psychology calls this emotional recalibration. The body knows when the soul has been stretched too thin. It knows when the mind has absorbed too much without time to process, and so it does the only thing it can. It slows everything down. It creates a pause, not because the person is weak, but because they are wise enough to listen. The world tells them to push through, to keep going, to ignore the signals, but their body refuses. And in that refusal, there is a kind of intelligence most people never learn to recognize. Think about it this way. When you overwork a muscle, it tears. When you overload a circuit, it blows. When you stretch a rubber band too far, it snaps. The human nervous system is no different. It has limits. And when those limits are crossed repeatedly, without rest, without recovery, the system protects itself the only way it knows how. It shuts down, not permanently, not destructively, but temporarily. A forced pause, a biological intervention. But here's the interesting part. This wasn't always how they lived. There was a time when they tried to keep up, when they forced themselves to show up, to socialize, to perform the version of themselves the world seemed to expect. They went to gatherings they didn't want to attend. They said yes when their body screamed no. They smiled through exhaustion and pretended the noise didn't drain them. And for a while, they believed the problem was them, that if they just tried harder, pushed more, ignored the heaviness, they would eventually feel normal. But normal never came. Instead, the weight grew heavier. The mornings became harder. The simple act of getting out of bed felt like climbing a mountain with no summit in sight. And one day, they stopped fighting it, not because they gave up, but because they finally understood. Their need for rest wasn't a flaw. It was a message, a truth their body had been trying to tell them all along. I know this because I lived it. There was a period in my life when I thought something was fundamentally broken in me. I watched people around me thrive in environments that drained me. I saw them energized by the very things that left me hollow, and I wondered, over and over, what was wrong with me? Why couldn't I just be like everyone else? Why did a simple dinner with friends leave me needing 3 days of silence to recover? Why did small talk feel like sandpaper on my soul? It took years to realize the answer. Nothing was wrong. I was simply built differently. My energy didn't come from external stimulation. It came from internal stillness. My peace didn't come from being surrounded by people. It came from being alone with my own thoughts, in my own space, on my own terms, and the desire to lie down, to rest, to withdraw, wasn't laziness. It was my soul asking for what it needed to survive in a world that never stops demanding. The people who feel this way are not avoiding life. They are living it with intention. They are choosing depth over distraction, stillness over chaos, peace over performance. And in a world that glorifies busyness as if rest were a sin, that choice takes courage. It takes strength to say no when everyone around you is saying yes. It takes wisdom to recognize that your version of a full life doesn't have to look like anyone else's. Still, here's a curiosity. The very trait that makes these people feel different is often the same trait that makes them extraordinary: introspection, the ability to sit with themselves, to think deeply, to feel intensely. Research suggests that people with high levels of introspection tend to have richer inner lives, stronger self-awareness, and a clearer sense of what truly matters to them. They are not distracted by surface-level pleasures. They are drawn to meaning, to purpose, to connection that goes beyond small talk and shallow interactions. But society doesn't celebrate this. Society tells them they're missing out, that they should go out more, socialize more, be more like everyone else. And when they don't, when they choose the quiet of their own home over the noise of the world, they are labeled antisocial, isolated, lonely, as if the only way to live a full life is to constantly be surrounded by others, as if solitude were a disease to be cured rather than a preference to be honored. But history tells a different story. Some of life's greatest thinkers, artists, and creators were people who craved solitude, who needed long stretches of silence to process, to create, to understand themselves and the world around them. Their ability to be alone wasn't a weakness. It was their strength. It was the space where their greatest work was born, where their deepest insights emerged, where they found the clarity that constant noise would have drowned out. Still, here's a curiosity. If the desire to lie down all day is not laziness, if it's not a flaw, then what is it protecting them from? The answer is more layered than most people realize. First, it's protecting them from emotional overload. These are people who feel deeply, not just their own emotions, but the emotions of others. They absorb the energy in a room. They sense tension, discomfort, unspoken conflict, and when they are constantly exposed to that, their nervous system becomes overwhelmed. The body's response is to shut down, to create distance, to find safety in stillness. Imagine walking into a room where 10 conversations are happening at once, where the lights are too bright, the music too loud, the air too thick with competing energies. For some people, that's stimulating. For others, it's suffocating. And for those who feel soul-tired, every social interaction carries a version of that weight. Not because they don't like people, but because they process people differently, more deeply, more completely. And that processing takes a toll. Second, it's protecting them from relationships that don't honor them. Many of these individuals have learned, often through painful experience, that not all connection is nourishing. Some people drain. Some people take without giving. Some people demand emotional labor without offering anything in return. And so they withdraw, not because they don't want connection, but because they refuse to settle for connection that leaves them emptier than they were before. They've learned to recognize the difference between people who see them and people who simply need something from them, between relationships that fill and relationships that deplete. And once you learn that difference, once you feel it in your body, you can't unsee it. You become more selective, more protective, more intentional about who gets access to your time, your energy, your inner world. Third, it's a genuine preference. Not everyone finds joy in constant stimulation. Not everyone feels alive in crowds. Some people genuinely prefer the quiet, the stillness, the freedom to move through their day without having to perform, to explain, to justify their existence to anyone. And that preference is not a problem to be solved. It's a way of being that deserves to be honored. Here's a secret they rarely say out loud. The desire to lie down all day is not about escaping life. It's about reclaiming it. It's about taking back the energy they've spent trying to fit into a world that was never designed for people like them. It's about choosing peace over pressure, clarity over chaos, depth over distraction. It's about finally giving themselves permission to live in a way that feels true, even if it looks different from what everyone else is doing. If you are someone who feels this pull, who wakes up heavy and wonders if something is wrong with you, listen closely. What if nothing is wrong? What if the weight you feel is not a sign of failure, but a sign that you've been carrying too much for too long? What if your body is not giving up, but finally speaking up? What if the desire to lie down is not weakness, but wisdom? I spent years believing I was broken, that my need for rest, for solitude, for long stretches of silence meant I was somehow less than. But the truth is, I wasn't less. I was just different. And different is not the same as defective. Different is not the same as damaged. Different is simply different. And once I stopped trying to force myself into a mold that was never meant for me, once I stopped apologizing for needing what I needed, everything shifted. There's a concept in psychology called self-companionship. It's the ability to be fully present with yourself, to find comfort in your own company, to not need external validation or constant stimulation to feel whole. And for people who feel soul-tired, this is not just a skill, it's a survival mechanism. It's how they protect their peace in a world that constantly tries to take it away. It's how they maintain their sense of self in a culture that demands conformity. Loneliness is not the same as solitude. Loneliness is the ache of wanting connection and not having it. Solitude is the choice to be alone, because that's where you feel most like yourself. And for people who crave lying down, who need the stillness, the quiet, the safety of their own space, solitude is not isolation, it's freedom. It's the space where they can finally breathe without performing, where they can exist without explanation, where they can simply be. And now it's time to talk directly to you. Maybe you are one of these people. Maybe you've spent years wondering why you can't just be normal, why you can't enjoy the things other people enjoy, why the thought of going out, of socializing, of performing feels like a weight you can't carry anymore. Maybe you've been told you're too sensitive, too introverted, too much in your own head. Maybe you've believed it. Maybe you've spent so long trying to fix yourself that you forgot there was never anything broken to begin with. But here's the truth. It doesn't mean you never get lonely. It doesn't mean there aren't moments when you wish things were different. When you wonder if you're missing out. When you feel the ache of being misunderstood. Those feelings are real, and they are valid. But they don't mean you're broken. They mean you're human. They mean you're navigating a world that wasn't built for people like you. And that navigation is hard. It's exhausting. And sometimes, the only way to survive it is to lie down and let your body rest. The difference between solitude and loneliness is intention. Solitude is chosen. It's the deliberate act of creating space for yourself, of honoring your need for rest, for quiet, for peace. Loneliness is the absence of choice. It's the feeling of being alone when you don't want to be, of craving connection and not finding it. And for people who feel soul-tired, the challenge is not avoiding solitude. It's making sure the solitude they choose is nourishing, not numbing, that it's restorative, not escapist, that it's a conscious choice, not a default hiding place. Rest is not laziness. Rest is part of growth. Stillness is not stagnation. Stillness is where clarity is born. And the desire to lie down, to withdraw, to protect your energy is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's your body telling you that you've been giving too much to a world that doesn't always give back. It's your soul reminding you that you are not a machine designed for constant output. You are a human being with limits, with needs, with a right to rest without guilt. There is something important still waiting to be said. The psychology behind this goes even deeper. People who feel soul-tired often share certain traits. First, they have a heightened sensitivity to their environment. They notice things others miss, the tone of someone's voice, the tension in a room, the subtle shift in energy when something is off. This sensitivity is a gift, but it comes at a cost. It means they absorb more, process more, feel more. And when they don't have time to discharge that energy, it builds up. The body's response is to shut down, to create a forced pause, not because it's giving up, but because it's protecting itself from overload. Second, they have complex trust patterns. Many of these individuals have been hurt by people they let in. They've been disappointed, betrayed, misunderstood, and so they've learned to be careful, to protect themselves, to only open up to those who have earned it. This is not coldness, it's self-preservation. It's the wisdom that comes from knowing not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Not everyone has earned the right to your vulnerability, and that's okay, that's healthy, that's necessary. Third, they have rich internal lives. Their minds are not empty when they're alone. They are full of thoughts, ideas, reflections, questions. They don't need external stimulation to feel engaged. They are engaged with themselves. And that internal richness is something the world often misunderstands. It sees their stillness and assumes emptiness. But the truth is the opposite. Their stillness is full. Their silence is alive. Their solitude is teeming with depth that most people will never see because they're too busy filling every moment with noise. Fourth, they need control over their environment. Not in a rigid way, but in a way that allows them to feel safe. They need to know they can leave when they want to leave, that they can say no without guilt, that their space, their time, their energy is theirs to protect. And when that control is taken away, when they feel trapped in situations they didn't choose, the soul tiredness intensifies. The weight becomes unbearable. The body shuts down even harder. Sometimes the reason they love being alone is because the world once disappointed them, because people once drained them, because connection once felt like a burden instead of a gift. And so they withdrew, not because they don't want love, but because they refuse to settle for love that doesn't honor who they are. They refuse to shrink themselves to fit into relationships that demand they be someone else. They refuse to apologize for needing what they need. To protect your peace is not selfishness, it's emotional wisdom. It's knowing that you cannot pour from an empty cup, that you cannot give to others what you haven't first given to yourself. And for people who feel soul-tired, the act of lying down, of resting, of withdrawing is not avoidance, it's replenishment. It's the necessary pause that allows them to return to the world with something to offer. Not because they owe the world anything, but because they choose to engage on their own terms. Imagine this. You step to the window and watch life continue outside. People rushing, moving, performing, and you feel no pull to join them, not because you're afraid, but because you're content. Content in the stillness, in the quiet, in the knowledge that your life doesn't have to look like theirs to be meaningful, that your version of fulfillment doesn't require constant motion, that your peace is not dependent on external validation. Society glorifies busyness as if rest were failure. It celebrates extroversion as if introversion were a flaw. It praises constant connection as if solitude were loneliness. But the truth is, rest is part of growth. Stillness is part of clarity. And solitude, when chosen, is one of the most powerful forms of self-love. It's the space where you remember who you are beneath all the noise, where you reconnect with the parts of yourself that the world tries to drown out. There is a quality these people possess that the world desperately needs more of. Self-companionship, the ability to be alone without being lonely, to find peace in their own presence, to not need constant validation, constant stimulation, constant noise to feel whole. This is not isolation. This is sovereignty. It's the quiet confidence that comes from knowing who you are and not needing the world to affirm it. It's the strength that comes from being comfortable in your own skin, in your own silence, in your own company. You are not strange for wanting to lie down all day. You are not broken for needing rest. You are not failing for choosing solitude over shallow connection. You are not missing out on life. You are living it on your own terms. You are not too sensitive. You are deeply attuned. You are not antisocial. You are selectively social. You are not lazy. You are protecting your energy in a world that constantly tries to take it. You are building a life that doesn't exhaust you. A life where your home is your sanctuary, where your time is yours to protect, where your energy is spent on what truly matters, not on what the world demands. And one day, you will step back into the world, not because you're forced to, but because you choose to. Not because you've been fixed, but because you've been restored. And when you do, you will move through it differently, with clarity, with peace, with the quiet strength that comes from knowing you don't owe anyone an explanation for who you are. The desire to lie down all day is not the end of your story. It's the pause before the next chapter, the rest before the rise, the stillness before the clarity. And in that stillness, you are not doing nothing. You are doing everything. You are listening. You are healing. You are becoming. You are honoring the truth that your body has been trying to tell you all along. That rest is not weakness. That solitude is not loneliness. That choosing peace over performance is not failure. It's freedom. If this resonates with you, if you want to go even deeper into understanding the psychology of people who choose solitude, who protect their peace, who live life on their own terms, there's more waiting for you here. Another conversation, another layer, just for you. This is Alone Together, a quiet corner of the internet for people who choose solitude over half-hearted connections. If you're here, you're not broken. You're just built differently, and you're not alone in being alone.